Hey, welcome to C's Backstage. This is your all-access pass for everything you need to know to design, produce, and inspire your next event. I'm your host, Troy Peters, C's very own Chief Experience Officer, here to guide you through the world of live event production. Remember to subscribe to your podcast, or subscribe to this podcast at cspro.com/backstage, or wherever, I haven't hit that yet, or wherever you get your favorite podcast, so you too can be backstage. This is a Halloween episode, so we're going to have a little bit of fun. We've got Zach Grant, our, what do you do? Our chief.
Everything and nothing. It's fine. Just keep going.
Remember to subscribe to the podcast at cspro.com/backstage, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts, so you too can be backstage. Today's a Halloween episode. We're going to talk about some scary stories that we've had on show site.
Yeah.
We've got Zach Grant, our CEO, joining us back on the podcast. And how do we want to kick this off?
I don't know. It's a good question. So, like, when we first started doing the podcast, this was one that I always thought would be fun to do, talk about this stuff, because we know everyone that's in the that does what we do. It's very rare for a show to go perfectly.
Right.
So we all have these stories of things maybe just, not going the way they should. And
yeah.
And sometimes it's so many things don't work out the way they should. It becomes comical. So
yep, I agree. And I think, if you're with the AV team or even event planners, producers, if you can find that team at the bar after the end of a show, that's where you'll hear the best stories. So we're celebrating a little bit, just a little homage to our post-show beverage that we like to have, and then swap some of those scary stories.
Yeah.
You want to kick one? You want to start one off?
I can.
And the other thing is, we're not talking about somebody, the time a truck didn't show up late, or a sprinkler head got broken. These are real, oh my God, that happened kind of thing.
Yeah. And then, we all have these stories, and, again, I've said this before, that any company that is misleading you by saying everything's going to go flawless on your event is, not telling the truth. But, so we always make these mistakes. But I think the important thing is that we learn from these, don't let them, I try not to make the same mistake twice. And so we grow from them. But I've had some very interesting things happen over the years. So,
all right, fire one away.
All right, first one. So, I think I was probably maybe 17, 18, and I'd been, or maybe a little older than that, but I've been working as a systems tech for my dad for a really long time, A2, that kind of stuff. So I could set stuff up pretty easily on my own at that point. And so at a certain point, we would get asked by other companies for, labor at this point. And there was this one, we had a buddy that worked for a big corporate company, and they were looking for an A2 on a gig. And it was a big high-profile corporate thing. It was at the Venetian out in Las Vegas. And maybe I need to take a drink before you get going.
It's starting to sink in. The memories are flooding back.
Reliving it. Yep. So we're out at the Venetian. It's super high-profile. We've got celebrities on the stage and all this stuff. And I'm the A2 that's supposed to do all the mic wrangling and putting lapels and all this stuff on people. And I didn't really know what I was getting into, right? I'd only worked band gigs for my dad. And those were, you could run on stage in the middle of a set and no big deal, right? So much different situation. So anyway, talking with the A1 friend of mine, he's just kind of prepping me for what I need to do, because he knows I'm just a kid and I haven't really done this yet. So, or maybe he didn't know that, but but anyway, he's just telling me, main thing is that these people do this all the time. They're used to speaking on stage. Just get in there, take the mic. Don't worry about it, right?
Get it where it needs to be, because we want good quality sound.
Yeah, exactly. So I was miking up a couple guys, on the ties, no problem, right? That was easy. And then this woman comes up. She's got a very flowy dress, no straps, right? Strapless dress, and it was crinkled and all this stuff. And I got to put a lapel on her. So it's okay, well, he said she's used to this, right? No big deal. So I get in, and I'm very polite, take the body pack, and I'm like, hey, can we strap this to your bra strap, right? And then I'm just going to clip this here. And I'd explain what I was doing. And I think she may have even clipped the first one on, right? Because I was trying to do whatever's comfortable. But I think after I got the first lapel position, the A1 was like, hey, can you move that to the other side? And I was like, oh, yeah, no problem. So
I'm already blushing for
yeah,
you.
yeah. Dude, this may be like the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to me. And I don't think I've ever shared this publicly, like with a couple people. So
Sure.
So anyway, he was like, yeah, just move it to the other side. So instead of like unclipping it and going around, I just like moved it over and I tucked the cord into the top of her dress.
Yeah.
Not thinking, right? Just like, oh,
you're just doing your job.
Just doing the job. So I didn't think anything of it. And then it was like about 30 seconds later, I'm watching her talking to her bodyguard, like motioning what I just did. And then the rest of the night, he stood in between me and her the whole time. I still had to mic people up backstage.
Yeah.
And then like the next person I had to mic was like a little kid. And I just felt like so awkward because now they think like I'm a pedo or something, right? And I have to put a body pack and a lapel on this little kid who's like 5, and I'm just like doing it like so carefully, like watching their reaction as I'm doing this. And dude, that was the day I decided I was never gonna be a tech on show. Like I was just like, never again. That has haunted me for like 18 years, dude.
Yeah.
It was so brutal.
I could hear it in your voice. Well, cheers to that one. All right, everybody, enjoy. All right, let's see if I can come up with one. I think it was my first real political event, and we were working with the Clinton family. So we had Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea, and we were doing this. It was an event at a university, and it was my first like that high profile, having the Secret Service, having to work with the Secret Service and do all that. And one of the things, this was in March, this is quite a few years ago, but it was in March. So the Final Four was happening. And so part of Bill's rider was we had to have a satellite so he could watch the Final Four games, watch basketball, NCAA basketball. And so we had to put a satellite dish, like a DirecTV satellite dish up on the roof of this auditorium that we were doing the event in.
Yeah.
So we're just carrying this dish up to the top with some bricks and some things to just like have it mounted down fine. Flip the hatch open, and there's some snipers there waiting for us to come out of the hole. Just about, my pants. And had to just like, they were like livid that we were climbing onto the roof with all this gear. And we're like, we just got to drop and then run cable down. It's just going to be a satellite dish. What's the satellite dish for? And we had to explain everything. Man. Once we did that, it was all fine. And then the other part of that event went for about 3 or 4 days. And it was right before Hillary was going to announce that she was running and stuff. So had a lot of press and everything. And you got to run on time. It was on CNN, so live. So we had to get Bill on stage at exactly the right time. And I was managing backstage and couldn't find him. And so what do you do? So Jimmy Kimmel was the host. He's going on, keeping people entertained. And then I was like, all right, we put that monitor for the Final Four in one of the dressing rooms. Sure enough, he's in there just lounging,
just
watching the game completely spaced out. I thought I was like, don't lose the president. Sure enough. But no, and then no security with him. So you would have thought he would have been where the Secret Service was. Right. But he was just in the corner where we had set up this monitor.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, at least
still came together. We got the show down. Right?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
All right. What else you got?
Cheers. All right. Where from here? I've got one. Well, a couple of these I wasn't on site. I just heard horror stories from the guys that were there. So we'll talk about one that we actually did. When was this? This must have been 5 years ago or something. And before I get into it, the main thing I learned on this one is if you're going to take like a tight budget show, don't try and make it profitable by cutting corners because it will bite you in the ass. So it was one of those where the show budget was like $20,000 and it probably should have been about 80 to do what they were talking. And I was like, oh yeah, well we can make, But
we want to try and make it work for them, right? We're trying to hit their budget. We're trying to do all those things.
Right. So always, right?
Yep.
But we thought, okay, this could lead to something else. We'll go ahead and do it. And I think we'll make a few $1,000s. Well, anyway, turned out not to be true. So this was a show. It was down in San Diego in the Gas Lamp, and it was a festival basically, with 2 stages, and we had like headliner acts. Like I think T-Pain was one of the guys, and something else. It was pretty big. I forget what they call it. It might still be going on, but this is pre-COVID. So anyway, we get the gig. This may be my least favorite gig of all time. Just in how things turned out. But anyway, so it's one of these ones where they have the street blocked off for 24 hours. So you already know it's going to be a tough gig, right? Like to try and do 2 festival-sized stages when you can only get in at midnight and you got to be out by midnight the next. Yeah. Well, maybe they had it till 6 in the morning, whatever. It's tight.
Sure.
So we come up with this plan that we're going to build one stage and then build the other stage. And, rather than running 2 separate crews the way that we should have, right? Because of the budget. And so we tried to just stagger it. And so that didn't pan out. But basically, like, we got behind. And I remember all the while leading up to the show, I was checking in with the guy that was in charge. And I'm like, hey, are we good? Are we good? And the whole time he's like, yeah, we're fine. We're fine. And it wasn't until it was like 2 or 3 o'clock day of and doors are like 5 or 6. Like, we might not be fine anywhere. So things are running behind. And basically, they get the stages up and running. I think some of the video stuff didn't get that. Like, they're in addition to the stages, I believe that we were doing like some projection mapping and some other little satellite stuff. And all of that's being built as people are like in the space, which is super not ideal, right? Yeah. But worse than that, the worst part of this show, and I guess maybe it's comical in hindsight, but a lot of line array speakers, you can run them either bi-amped or passive. And so this particular set of speakers we had on one of the main stages was set to be bi-amped, right? There's 2 settings. You have your amp setting and then you have your speaker setting, and you have to make sure they're the same. Well, anyway, the speakers were set up for bi-amp mode, and the A1, not knowing that, runs them in passive mode, and right before T-Pain is going on, he blows all the mains on both line arrays. And so I'm getting phone calls like literally every 2 minutes from the client going, why does this sound so bad? Like, I'm home. I'm like completely helpless. Yeah. And so what we ended up doing, we had a show running down the street, and the sales guy that was leading the show literally grabbed his pickup truck, drove down the street, grabbed the ground stack PA system for the marathon that was running, drove it back, threw it on top of the subs to make that happen.
Oh man.
And oh man, that was brutal.
Thank goodness he thought of that though. Like, hey, we've got a show right around the corner. We can get enough stuff off of that to make this happen.
Yeah, the show happened, but
that one makes me sweat.
That was maybe the toughest gig that we ever did. And if you're going to do it, you do it the right way, regardless of what the budget is. That is what I learned on that one. Yeah, never. And I have a better idea now. So
cheers. Oh. All right, I'll make the next one a little bit lighter. So I was doing an event for, it was actually the first large, multi-thousand person ballroom that I was the show caller, kind of produced the show. And we had a magician, chemist, keynote speaker, brilliant, funny guy, has been on all sorts of television programs. And he had this like closing night gala thing that he was going to do where he was going to make this, 20-gallon drum, launch all these ping pongs out of it with dry ice and whatever sort of thing that he had rigged up. And then we had to quickly clean the stage, like sweep off all these. We'd planned everything. Had to sweep off all these ping pong balls because we were going to go right into this awards program that was really kind of kicking off everything. And so he did it. He does the effect. It blows so much that it blew the ceiling tiles out of the ballroom. Oh my God. Ceiling tiles are cascading down. This dry ice has smoked the whole space. 2,000 people are there going, what the F just happened? There's ping pong balls everywhere. And my stage manager, my assistant stage manager, Robin, who was supposed to was ready to come out and sweep off the stage, walks, because everybody's in shocked silence. Like, what just happened? The ceiling blew off.
Right.
He walks out with the broom and just tosses it on the ground and walks away. place breaks in like just nonstop laughter. Like it was epic. He did it out of, I think we may have like on comms been like, here's what you're going to do. You're going to walk out, just throw the broom at the guy and walk away. Because I think he says something like, now let's bring the team in to clean this up. And Robin walks out and just chucks the broom, walks away. It was brilliant. People have been talking about that one for years and they still bring it up. So yeah, but that was like when that blew and those ceiling, like, not one or two, like a massive amount over the stage. So we couldn't get a lift in, couldn't do anything. Yeah. What are you going to do? Yeah. And so, all right, everybody, moving on.
Way to, make it a positive thing, you know?
Yep.
We had one, which I wasn't even thinking of telling this story, but you remember those sorry.
Cheers.
Cheers to that. Remember those sparkler machines?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. We did one gig. I only ever did one gig with those things. I thought they were the coolest thing ever. So we got hired for this wedding. I don't even remember when this was. Long time ago, probably almost 10 years ago. But whenever they first came out, we had them. And a lot of people for weddings would like to set those out. So while they're doing their first dance, those are going off in the background. It's really like makes for awesome photos. Well, what we didn't know going to the show, which nobody told us, is that they were going to do one of those... have you ever seen those like ceiling with all the flowers hanging from them?
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so they did that, but they didn't use flowers. They used fake flowers that were flammable. So when it came time for first dance, they shot the sparklers, and that whole thing started to catch fire. So they're doing the first dance, and my guys run out there with fire extinguishers to blow that thing out, and it was like nuts. So... didn't turn into a big thing. Like I'll say that, like nothing burned down, but like never again. So we sold those. Never used them again. Sold them as soon as we could. Yeah,
and you're right. They look great in photos, but there's so much like smoke and noise and stuff.
That's so we don't touch pyro ever. Like after that one, and that was the only thing I ever dabbled with it. But
all right,
all
right. Cheers to that one. All right. This one could have been a horror story, just as far as like billable hours. I was doing Super Bowl 49 and managing the NFL awards, NFL honors, and it was the second year they'd done the honors, and I was doing everything outside the main ballroom, so all the red carpet, press room, and player interactions and stuff like that. We're in there for a couple days, and the awards program, the honors awards, are the night before the Super Bowl. So Saturday night, downtown Phoenix, the Roots are playing a free concert right outside where we are. Mm-hmm. The entire downtown core packed, wall-to-wall people. Nobody could move. We've struck everything. We've loaded our trucks, and we needed to get off the loading dock. And the police are like, nope, you can't go anywhere. So I've got a crew that can't leave. We can't do anything. A truck's sitting there. We're going into overtime. It's probably about midnight, 1 a.m. And like, what do you do? This stuff's got to get out of here. End up sitting there chatting with the police officer, and he was, I remember you did that mayor event or something. And we hit it off. He's like, yeah, you just had twins. I'm like, yeah, that's right. So this was like 10 years ago. And I think he might have just had a kid at the same time. So we ended up hitting it off. And he's like, stay here, but when I tell you to move, start moving. Get somebody in that truck and turn it on, start it running. Then he disappears. A couple minutes later, 2 Phoenix police SUVs start just inching their way through the crowd.
Oh, nice.
And he said, we're going to make a gap. You just pull your truck between us and then ride right on our bumper. Yeah. Drove right through. The Roots are playing on one side. All this projection mapping's happening on the truck.
Semi's driving right
and it was like,
middle.
yep, here we go. It was the coolest thing ever. Yeah. But that we could have been there till like 3, 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
So,
oh, that's good.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Cheers. I'm going to run out of drink here.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. All right. I got one more. Do you have any more? You have another one you want to share? Or you want to wrap this up?
We can wrap it up.
All right. I'm going to finish my last one with a real ghost story. Let's close this out. So a lot of people know I started out in motion picture production broadcast. And I was like maybe into the business about 3 years. I was in my early 20s. And we were filming in an abandoned insane asylum, essentially, mental hospital.
Okay.
And it had been empty for years. I think it was like, turn of the century. And So it had the creep value already going, and so we were making fun of like, oh, I bet this place is haunted, and people were talking about, hey, I think it's haunted and whatnot. We had to do this shoot that was like super late at night, and I was the rigging gaffer, so going ahead and like setting up the lighting and setups for everything that was going to be taking place next. And so we're on radio. I'm on the truck prepping my team, and they're filming in like the main lobby of this old hospital. And the lighting director gets on the comms and says, hey, we're going to quickly go scout that space upstairs. Can you meet us up there so we can look at exactly what the camera shot's going to be? We'll talk through everything that we need to do. And I'm like, yep, copy, on my way. So I walk into the building.
Yourself?
What's that?
You had to go by yourself? Do you have like
a team of guys? I mean, there's like 75, 100 people in the building. So he's like, we're heading upstairs now. And so I'm like, all right, I'll be up there in a second. So I walk into the building, go to where the stairs are, and I can hear them going up the stairs. So I'm like following up the stairs. I'm just like trying to catch up, keep trying to catch up. Couldn't catch up to them. Get up to the very top and like hear them talking or some muffled voices and steps like right around the corner as I come around. I come up into that upstairs. There's no other way in there. And there's nobody there.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I was absolutely thought I was following my team up the stairs. Like from here to the end of this table was going around. I'm like, well, I'm just not catching up to them.
Yeah.
Could literally hear like thump, 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 thump all the way up. And I walked into that thing. And right now, while I'm telling it, the hairs on the back of my neck are standing up. I was like, yeah, I'm out of here. Ran back down the stairs. I'm like, where are you guys? They're like, well, we got called. We're looking at this one more shot down here in the lobby. I'm like,
oh my God.
Yeah, probably turned white.
Yeah.
Probably fell down the stairs trying to get down as fast as I could. But yeah, that was absolutely terrifying. It's really the only real ghost story that I can be like, where I was like, something was there. Where I'm like, yeah, wasn't like, did I think I saw something? It was like I was following something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't have any like. Thank God I don't have any like close encounters like that or anything because like, dude, I don't know what I would even do. I would never go into that building to begin with. You couldn't pay me enough money. Yeah, absolutely not. No way.
Well, cool. Well, this has been a fun little episode to do. Horror stories that have happened to us on site. This has been C's Backstage, your all access pass to everything you need to know to design, produce, and inspire your next event. Remember to follow us subscribe to the podcast at cspro.com/backstage or wherever you find your favorite podcast. Remember, we're on YouTube, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on the Google Play Store. So again, wherever you find your favorite podcast, take a listen or take a watch and hit us up if you have any other ideas for podcasts. We've been doing this for a year. So, we're not running out of ideas, but we want to make sure we're getting the current things that people are thinking about. So if you've got something, please reach out and let us know. I think there's a form on the website. Tyler, is there a form on the website?
There is indeed.
There's a form on the website. Insert the howling sound of a coyote in the distance, and
cheers.
We'll see you next time.